I'm sure he
will.
knows.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, we're live. Let me restart the recording, and we'll go ahead and get started here.
All right. Let me mute YouTube. The hell is that?
Okay.
Okay. And let me get the chat out here.
Oh, good point.
So you
Oh,
can
I guess I should do the thingy to share the things. I always forget to do that. It should let anybody in the Hangout get the YouTube link from the bottom right, not just the host. It's very annoying that it does that.
I can see myself typing on the internet.
I mean, isn't that like what you do all day, though? Like indirectly?
Yeah. You should. You lazy bum.
Oh, yeah, you're one to talk, Jordan.
I'm always working on extra stuff in the background. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, to be fair,
Likely
I actually am
story.
almost always working on extra stuff in the background.
When I'm not spending 5 to 6 hours on app sales roundups.
Ryan, is your keyboard extra echoey this week?
I'm not typing right now.
That's me. That's me.
Oh. Do you like slap your keyboard, or
I have
like,
they're MX clears. They're very. You have to. It's like a type.
My keyboard is extra orange this week.
fantastic? I like
Where's
that.
that Tron? Where's the Tron keyboard, man?
It's
Letting me down.
over there someplace. I might end up selling that thing at some point. I don't use it as much as I had hoped I would.
Oh. All right. I'm gonna get a start here. Somebody's got a lot of background noise this week.
Hopefully, that's not me. I'll mute. Is it me?
Yep, it's you.
Yep.
Do you have a small mammal in the background or
Maybe
anything?
I have the wrong mic selected. Oh, man.
I think the right mic's like this. Probably not close enough to your face.
That could be.
Yeah, it's okay if it's in the
Get
shot.
it
Nobody
closer
watches
to
the
your
video
face.
anyway.
Yeah, it's totally fine. If it's in the shot.
Yeah,
That's-
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mine is just sort of right here at the edge of my video.
Ryan, stop it.
How's it going? How's it going, guys?
What's your gain set at? Is it past halfway?
Probably.
Turn it
I
down.
usually have it like halfway across the room. So there we go.
Yeah.
I usually have my gain up about halfway.
Yeah, halfway is the sweet spot on the Yeti usually.
I have mine literally set as low as it can go.
Oh.
Well, you just must have a good room then.
I get to
Okay.
dance around like
No,
Elvis now.
Actually, your
I have it
background
close
noise is dissipated because it's not trying to pick up the signal from so far anymore.
You know it, baby.
Sounds much better. Okay, I'm going to restart the recording again because now there's 2 minutes of junk.
You call it junk, we call
all
it
business now.
junk.
Let's
Hey, that's
get
fine.
on-
It's character.
get
I'm
down to
sorry.
business.
Pre-show.
Yeah, that's why we need like a Patreon or something so that everyone can.
Yeah,
get
people
the
can get the 3 minutes of ridiculous nonsense before the show.
Yes.
I'm sure everybody's going to want to buy that.
People
Oh, yeah.
very much want to pay for that, and more importantly, they want us to pay them to. Yeah.
Or we could just have a Patreon and not give people anything for it.
Wait,
just-
you can watch.
Patreon.
Yeah, what? Who says that?
What did you call it?
Wait, are we
Yeah.
talking about what did I say? Did it
Patreon.
upset-
Patreon instead of Patreon.
Patreon.
I think somebody said that before me, and that's why I said it. Who was talking about it before me?
I think you did that yourself. You
I don't think so.
I
can't,
said
you can't push this
Patreon.
on someone else.
Self-referential.
Okay, well, at any rate, that thing, we should just do that, and then people can give us money for nothing.
Hey, was it you that had the idea that people could pay to watch our Twitch streams all day?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right. Welcome to the Android Please podcast. I'm your host, David Reddick.
I'm Ryan Whitwam.
I'm Cody Toombs.
I'm Jordan Palmer.
And I'm Ryan Hager.
And Corbin will be joining us at some point whenever he gets in front of his computer. This week on the show, actually pretty light on topics, it seems like. There are definitely some interesting things to discuss in terms of Google and Android P and the OnePlus 6. So we do have some things going on. So let's talk about something that everybody has been talking about, which is Facebook. And how much it's pissing everybody off. That's just been the rolling theme for like the last month.
It's like
Facebook upset somebody.
have people not been paying attention to like Facebook forever? This is the way it's always been. Always. The entire time it's existed.
Honestly, the thing I'm most mad at Facebook about is since they bought Instagram, they started sending me text messages if I don't log into Instagram enough. They're like, hey, blah, blah, blah has posted something. And I'm like, I don't care.
I've gotten that, and I've gotten where I've signed into Facebook on a new phone, but not to Instagram or Messenger, and it will send me texts bugging me to sign into those apps too.
Do you guys actually use the Facebook app?
I do on test devices to see its impact on battery life, but in my daily driver, no.
I despise the Facebook app.
I don't install the Facebook app. I just have Messenger Lite installed on my phone. That's it.
I use Simple Pro that has the Messenger built in, and it defaults to most recent, so I like that one.
Okay, so more relevant to what we're talking about, the Messenger app actually is one of the things that pissed people off the most about Facebook recently, because as it turns out, people were not paying attention to the things they tapped in that app, I guess.
What?
Yeah, I know. Who would have thought? So like the app asks if you want to like, I think it's like if you want to like share your contact so it can connect to people that you know. And when it gets that permission, the app, has access to your call logs eventually. Like,
but Ryan, what does sharing really mean? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. But so Facebook was getting this stuff, and people like noticed. Somebody like noticed, hey, it has a record of my calls in it, and they didn't put two and two together, I guess, and realize that they had authorized that. But I mean, Facebook probably should have been more clear that like that permission gives them more data than it sounded like.
I mean, to be honest, the screenshot they provide for the way you set up Messenger now makes it pretty clear. Like the text literally says, continuously upload info about your contacts, like phone numbers and nicknames, and your call and text history. I guess there's some debate as to whether it looked like that before, but it does now.
It really didn't look like that before. I remember reading it many times and thinking, this is like the most polite, friendliest way they could have possibly said, we'd really like to see some stuff. We're not going to tell you why. And now it's really abundantly clear. No, we want to read every single thing you have ever done.
It's the iTunes terms and conditions, right? No one reads it.
So Facebook clarified that they weren't keeping any of this, though, right?
No,
I think they
were
absolutely
did
have it.
They just updated and they were like, it's consensual. You said yes. That was all.
Yeah, and now I think they said they deleted it, right? Like they deleted all that data.
They said that.
I think what they said is that they never kept the contents of the text, but they still kept. Like,
it was only metadata, which is all they were ever accused of taking. I guess some other outlets picked it up as, oh my God, they're reading all of your messages. And really, it was just metadata.
Got it. Okay, that makes more sense. And I see the tweet here, somebody downloaded their Facebook data file, and it just shows all the outgoing call records.
Yeah,
and who
we're not ignorant sacks of shit that misreported this. Like, it was just metadata. That's all we said.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook, it just has this problem where they want to make things easy to understand, but when they do that, they just don't explain things well enough, and then this happens.
Well, I think a lot of it comes down to the issue that it turns out that a lot of people don't actually want to give companies this information if given the explicit choice. Like, hey, would you like to upload your call history to Facebook so they can use it to better target services and ads toward you? Most people would say no.
But they would also say, but I don't want to pay money for this thing. So
yeah.
Yep, that is the kind of Faustian bargain we have made with all these services now.
I mean, it sucks,
Google
but
included.
Like, if you want the stuff you use online to be free,
I mean, for example,
you gotta give them something.
Like, following this Facebook thing, I saw, people were downloading their Google, full Google records, and some guys was like 79 gigabytes or something. Completely insane.
I should download mine. That's probably
They like you can request.
Is that the Google Takeout thing?
Yeah, that's Takeout.
Yeah. So but this was, related to another tweet where a guy had said, oh, well, did you know Google has tracked everywhere you've ever been? Most people don't understand how location history works.
Yeah.
Google knows.
I am kind of surprised that location history isn't like it should be like one of those big pop-up screens when you're setting up the phone, like one of the first things it asks you. But it kind of hides that.
I mean, it does ask. It does. It is quite explicit about asking. It's right before the Google Now setup.
Location history on for this device.
Yeah.
And it tells you Google keep a track of where you've been and where you're going, blah, 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 blah. I think that people think about that and all they think is, oh, well, it's just going to use my GPS and it's going to figure out where I am. People don't put together, like when you go into the Maps app and hit timeline, it's really literally keeping track of your whereabouts
all the time. and you know what, though? Like, even understanding that, like, I'm totally fine with that. I think it's useful.
It's great. It's totally useful. Because, like, so, for example, this is going to come off really snobby and Californian. But anyway, last, like, I guess 2 weeks ago, I was at this winery where I had ordered some, I had signed up for recurring orders of wine at this winery. And I noticed, like, way back last year in November or December, I got charged on my credit card by them. And I'm like, oh, it's my shipment. I need to go get it. I never went to go get it. And basically, I had this charged my credit card, but that's the only information I had from them. I didn't have a membership number. I didn't have anything like that. So I go there and I asked, like, oh, I'm here to pick up my shipment. I never got it. And they're like, they looked up my name and like, we don't have you. You know, there's no record of your name in our system. They look me up by my phone number and stuff. And like, well, you know, probably didn't collect the phone number at the time and tried to look me up by my email and there was nothing there. And so they're like, well, you know, I told them how much they charged me and like, well, that sounds about right. And they're like, do you know when you signed up? And I was like, I can find out. And so I opened up the Google Maps app and looked at the last time I was there. So I just typed in, so you can type in a POI on Google Maps. And if you've been there, it'll tell you, you visited here X, Y, and Z. And you click on it, it'll show you in your timeline when you were there. And so I was like, oh, I signed up on blah, blah, blah date. And they're like, oh, well, we were looking at the 2018 membership roles. Let me go look at 2017 for that month. And they found me. Thanks to Google. Probably could have figured it out with a lot more time and effort if I hadn't done that. But it was neat. I was like, yeah, I'm happy I have this.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, though. That did sound really snobby.
Very Californian of you.
It did. I could have said it was a brewery.
I used the location history a couple of weeks ago because I knew, like, there was a place in the area where I live. I could not remember the name of it or exactly where it was. And I needed to find it again, but I knew about when, like last year, I had gone there. Mm-hmm. So I just went through my location history until like the line went way over to this area that I don't usually go. And I'm like, that's where it is. And then I was able to figure out what the name of the place was.
No, that's awesome. And I think that the chance that the average person is ever going to utilize this is really low. Like most people this is 100% a win for Google, less so for regular people who don't understand that, you know, it's recording this.
Which is too bad.
I also used location history to make fun of Scott when he got us lost in Berlin at IFA.
Nice. That's also a great use of the feature.
Yeah. If you were to tell drunk people that, Google can tell you exactly where you were last night, they'd be either really excited or really not excited.
Like, listen, the Hangover 3 didn't even have to happen. Just pull out your damn phone. It'll tell you.
See, you joke about it. I've actually helped people who like blacked out find places they had been in the previous night thanks to that.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's coming on the
It's
Pixel
a great
3.
feature. I love it.
It'll sense how much alcohol is in your blood. And it'll give you a notification that says, here's a full record of your history.
Yeah, I honestly wish I could integrate it with my my data from my automatic dongle in my car because that tracks everywhere I drive. So it'd be cool to have that too. But yeah, I personally like the feature. Anyway, people saw this tweet and they're like, oh, that's so creepy. Google shouldn't know that. And it's like, well, you know.
They make the operating system on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, your phone carrier knows exactly where you are all the time.
Yeah.
They know exactly vaguely where you are.
Well, okay, not exactly. Like within, whatever, 100 meters or whatever.
And they also have phone records and SMS messages.
Yeah, your phone carrier actually does have the physical contents, or I should say the actual contents of your SMSs. They have the actual,
you want to go down that rabbit hole. There's like 10 different people who have your SMS.
They're required to preserve them for 6 months or something like that, I think.
Yeah, at least. I can't remember what it was. That was one of the Prism things, right?
Yeah. This is like a requirement from the government, I believe. And then the actual metadata they preserve for a much longer
time. At least 2 years or maybe even longer.
It's quite a while. So now your carrier knows a lot about you too. And nobody's going to like protest the fact that your carrier knows too much about you, like, and the fact that your carriers are generally very cooperative with the U.S. government.
Also,
But T-Mobile.
I mean, also your home ISP. Your ISP knows everything you do on the internet, unless you're
Oh,
an
yeah.
VPN.
And your ISP is very happy to cooperate with the federal authorities.
Yeah.
All too happy. We're talking about the companies that cooperate happily with the RIAA and the MPAA. Yeah, the federal government, yeah, they'll roll right over.
But you know who doesn't cooperate happily with Facebook? Apparently, our readers. That was a segue.
Wow.
Whatever.
That was
Whatever.
slick.
Fine.
So we did a poll, and
did do a poll.
The results, people don't like Facebook.
I was really surprised. I figured that most people would use the app. And granted, I think overall, over 50% of people were in one form or another using Facebook, but over 40% of people didn't use it at all on their phones.
So
Via
I think what we can take away is that people who don't use Facebook really like to tell you that they don't use Facebook.
That
It's
could
one of
also-
their favorite things.
They're basically the vegans of social media.
Did I tell you guys I don't use
God,
Facebook?
they are. It's true. They are the vegans of social media. It's like there's nothing wrong with not using Facebook, but if you could just shut the hell up about it, I appreciate it. You know, I use Facebook just because, like, yeah, family posts things there, and like, you know, it's like, oh, I'm a physical, like, I'm a picture on the internet. There you go. Like, I don't actually use it for anything. Like, maybe I'll use Messenger sometimes, but that's really it. You know, I think people just get a little too like militant about their anti-Facebookness.
Yeah, I just had to make one so I can go and delete the auto post when I make a typo. That's it on the AP page.
Now,
To be an admin.
I hate to say it, but where I live, you got to use Facebook if you want to be a part of local society.
Yeah, no, that's
So,
true in a lot
yeah.
of places.
So that's another drawback, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Yeah.
it really is.
I do feel that, especially in California, Nextdoor has taken over that a little bit in terms of local obnoxiousness.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
get a-
hate Nextdoor with a passion.
I get
but
a
I'd love to
flyer.
look at it.
I get a flyer for that every couple of months. Like, your neighbors have set up a Nextdoor. I'm like, I don't care. Get away
No,
from
you
me.
should sign up. It's great. It's awful.
Oh,
no,
it's so
you're not-
bad.
You're not
Oh.
selling. I don't want that.
No, it's
Here-
great. Ryan, don't like. People are gonna like write like, "Oh, raccoons were wrestling in somebody's trash last night," like, or "Hey, I found a car that was missing a wheel." Like, whose car is this? A tree fell on it. That literally happened last week on my next car. Like, a Prius was crushed by a falling tree, and I'm like, "Sweet."
He's really not lying. I get so much weird garbage that people have written, and there's so much like, hey, what would you people think about getting like welding equipment, like a community welding center? set up?
Yes, totally.
What?
Oh,
I think this. No, I feel like this wouldn't happen.
this
where I-
literally, I'd have to go back and find the emails, but it has very much happened, and I live in the middle of nowhere, so it's kind of weird that people
Yeah,
want to set
I
that up.
love Nextdoor. It's fantastic. I mean, I hate it. I don't actually post anything
Oh.
there, and I check it as little as humanly possible. But I love the digest emails because they just give me all of the crazy stuff. Like, I remember, like, when I moved here, like a month after I moved here, one of the first ones I saw was like, "Hey, somebody's Mercedes C63. Somebody stole all the rims. It's up on blocks. Anybody know whose car this is?" That's pretty good. Great Oakland Nextdoor content. Yeah, I don't know how they're doing his business, but anyway, Facebook. Facebook. People are pretty PO'd at Facebook. I've seen, a lot of people who say they're deleting their Facebooks, and it's anecdotal, and obviously their stock is not doing so good.
That means I should buy a lot of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
definitely. That's
Yeah,
sound investment.
Rush in there.
I mean, it's better investment than Bitcoin.
Hey now.
That hurts a
I
little.
know. Yeah, watch it.
Although I remember, kind of like just eating my own words. I remember this like probably, this is probably like 4 or 5 years ago. But when did Facebook IPO?
Like
2013. Yeah, early 2013. So this was probably about 5 years ago, and they were at their kind of trough when they were trading at like $20. And this guy I would talk to at a coffee shop, he's like, "Hey, do you think I should invest in Facebook?" And I'm like, "That sounds like a pretty bad idea." And now, it's like $20 then. It's like $160 now. So, I guess it would have been a good idea. But, it's that. I guess that's the stock market. Anyway, moving on to Google upsetting people. Let's talk about uncertified devices. This is a pretty interesting story. and having kind of dived into it, quite a bit to make sure our coverage is accurate, I'll kind of just give you the lay of the land here. So in recent months, Google has started enforcing a policy whereby a device that is not running basically, it's not a verified build of Android, so it's not in Google's repository of like known builds with a key that matches or something. I'm not sure how they verify exactly, but basically, custom ROMs don't qualify, and phones that don't ever get Foons. Foons.
You're Scottish today.
Or Dutch, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, so phones that don't pass CTS don't qualify either. And so when you sign on a phone with a custom ROM, or that hasn't passed CTS, or that has an unlocked bootloader, that unverifies you as well, you get this message. And it says, your phone is unverified. If you're using a custom ROM, go to this page and give us your Google Services Framework ID. Most people have no idea that the Google Services Framework ID even exists. Oh, CTS, Android Compatibility Test Suite. It's what Google does to certify partner devices to make sure that they are compatible with the Android operating system. They have API compatibility is a big part of it. So if you have a phone that doesn't pass CTS, it's running a custom ROM or has an unlocked bootloader, you're going to get this message. And at that point, what's going to happen is you can't sign into Google on your phone. Google services won't work. So you can go to this web page and give them this Google Services Framework ID, which they give you this command on the web page, this shell command. You have to have a root to even run it, which is ridiculous. And it gives you the Google Services Framework ID. Or you can sideload an app and it'll give you the GSF ID as well. And you can plug that in there and it should work.
Yeah, it's just an app on the Play Store called Device ID.
And you can also get it on apkmirror.com.
Yes, you can.
Shameless plug.
If you won't have access to the Play Store if you don't have a certified device.
That's true.
So yeah, you should sideload it and you get your GSF ID. Actually, previously, so apparently when you pull the GSF ID from the shell command, this root command, it gives it to you in decimal. If you get the GSF ID from these apps using a permission that they acquire, it comes out in hex. And initially, Google's page only accepted decimal values. And they put it in text being like, well, just convert your hex value to decimal.
Yeah, that's all you have to do.
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
It's easy. Yeah.
I talked to them about this. And basically, I learned that it would eventually accept hex, and now it does. So you don't have to convert anymore, which is good.
Does the updated page, does it actually explain what number you need now? Because before, I think it just said Android ID, and everybody thought that was...
So the old page was not accurate at all. Yeah. Like, they just had the command there, and Android ID is actually a separate thing. The Android ID, the Android device ID, is a unique identifier, but it's basically... it's account linked, not really device linked. So if you flash a different ROM... or update your phone factory reset it, your Google device ID could, or your Android device ID could change. GSF ID is hardware software hybrid, so it uses both factors. And it usually, I think, I'm not sure what the hardware factor is, but Google says it should survive factory resets no problem. So it should be fine. And there was a 100 device limit. They removed it. I didn't know they were going to do that, but basically, Google is doing this because in a lot of countries in developing countries, there's an issue with phone manufacturers putting out devices that have Google services installed, but they've never gone through the compatibility test suite. And so there's no guarantee they're API compatible or that Google's services are going to work properly. And, Google obviously doesn't like that. So, basically the point, as I understand it here, is this is about manufacturers, not end users using custom software or modifying their devices. And they do want to make it as easy as possible to get around this. That said, I think it's going to present a pretty practical obstacle for people using, stuff like Kindle Fires. And it's just going to be another layer that makes it harder to do this stuff. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. It doesn't seem like it's going away. Google is definitely not discouraging people from putting ROMs on their phones. That's not the point. But they are adding a
bigger pain. Like if you're already flashing a ROM on your phone, getting this number and putting it in a web page isn't going to be the biggest the biggest
Yeah.
issue of your day.
Yeah, and
But
most,
it does
most
significantly increase the barrier to entry for somebody who's doing it for the first time, who might
That
not know
and
what any of
generally-
this stuff is.
Yeah, and
Well,
generally
yeah.
increases
I
the
mean,
amount of time it
yeah.
takes too.
I mean, I think like the biggest impact for this will be people who are just, they live in a developing market and they buy a phone, and maybe it's like, a Xiaomi device or something. And maybe in their country, like resellers are just opening the phones and flashing G apps to them before they resell them. Those people are going to get this warning and they're not going to have any idea what's going on.
Yep. And they're going to download whatever apps claim to fix it. And they're going to be in an even worse position as a result, because they're going to be installing malware without the protections that are provided by Google Play. So you don't get any of the antivirus scanning without Google Play. What is it?
Play
The,
Protect.
Play Protect. You don't get that without GApp. So
But the
Like-
Yeah.
but the G apps are still on the phone. You just can't log into your Google account.
It depends on the phone, I guess.
Yeah.
we don't know if they're going to continue to work if they can.
Yeah, we don't know. The one concern I have with this, which is I guess relatively minor, is that since you can't go through the normal account login process when you're setting up your phone for the first time, does that break restoring from a backup?
Yeah, I had thought about that too.
Yeah, it most likely will.
So that's
Yeah.
that's not gonna be fun for custom ROM people.
Yeah, definitely not.
Well,
It's-
can you wait? But if you already have your GSF ID, and if it doesn't change in between flashes or resets,
Yeah, I think as long as you don't change
Yeah.
the build prop of the device, you're okay. Changing the build prop makes it think it's
So,
a different piece of hardware.
theoretically, you could input your ID into the website before you even turn the phone on.
Okay.
Yeah, theoretically you could, and it should work. The GSF ID, the whole point of making it was that it would be more durable than the Android device ID. So hopefully, yeah,
We should
So-
we should try this stuff. We should try to test this.
we should.
I
I've
put in my
s-
tablet because it's running Lineage, and it took 1 minute, and it's fine. I haven't wiped it though since then.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
wiping
only-
it shouldn't cause a problem.
Because it only appears on devices with build dates after March 14th, I want to say. March 16th.
Yeah. Yeah. And apparently Google had been testing it before that. So I don't know if I was supposed to say that. But anyway,
There had been reports off and on of it for the past year. I guess they had been doing like spontaneous testing of it, but this is like it's active now.
yeah, I would say the testing was probably, let's say, very targeted. So in other news, Foxconn is trying to buy the group of companies that is Belkin, Wemo, and Linksys, which is kind of interesting because Foxconn makes all the things.
Yeah. So this is Foxconn trying to break into consumer electronics, because up until now they've just been building everyone else's stuff,
Yeah, they're an ODM,
You're right.
basically.
and now they're trying to have their own line of products because obviously they want to just expand and make sure they're still going, even if someone like Apple or Samsung drops them for production, for example.
I feel like I definitely have purchased Foxconn motherboards and like other PC stuff over the years. Do they still make things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, this is them buying Belkin, which is probably best known for their Wemo smart device stuff, and Belkin owns Linksys as of a couple of years ago, so that's a lot of networking hardware.
I'd say Belkin's well known for being Belkin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They're huge in the computer accessories market.
there
Yeah.
were
Yeah,
so
but I-
many chargers and phone
Cables, HDMI cables.
Yeah,
and
cables,
display.
bags, surge protectors. I mean, they make a lot of stuff.
Best Buy accessory spam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
And another way this is interesting is because Belkin is a U.S. company and Foxconn is based in, I think,
Shenzhen, I assume.
yeah, I believe so. It's definitely in mainland China as far as I know. But this is subject to the same approval process that Broadcom was trying to go through when they were trying to buy Qualcomm.
well, if somebody files, so basically, I mean, the what is it, the U.S. Foreign Transaction
US
Committee or-
Committee on Foreign Investment.
yeah, on foreign investment, they will have to evaluate it at the time the transaction goes through. There's probably no reason they like. I can't imagine a really good reason that they wouldn't. I guess Linksys and routers. But
yeah, that's
Yeah.
my only concern.
It depends on what sort of hardware Linksys is making that might be in use by
I,
like.
I
I would
don't think that Linksys makes any like enterprise or government.
No, because Cisco
hardware
still
anymore.
does that. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure.
Yeah, I think that honestly there would be very little reason for that because at that point, if they're pointing the finger at Foxconn, then Apple, becomes kind of the target, by association. And I don't think, I don't know that there's any question about Foxconn's ownership structure in the way that there was about Huawei and linkages to the, Chinese Communist Party. I think Foxconn is probably a little more in the clear that way. Huawei is a little opaque in the way it is owned and run. I'm guessing Foxconn probably doesn't have those issues.
Right. And also, Foxconn is not trying to completely replace Belkin's leadership during the purchase.
Yeah, this
Broadcom was.
Yeah, and well, Belkin's not a publicly traded company, is it?
I don't know.
Is Belkin publicly traded?
While you're looking that up, I think it's fair to say with the current administration being very jumpy about security, I think there's at least still a pretty legitimate threat that they would not be okay with the idea that and I'm just kind of guessing here, but I think Linksys it's got to make up at least half of the routers that are just sitting in people's homes in this country. That's a scary prospect if you are prone to being scared of anything made in China.
And a lot of businesses that aren't big enterprises are probably using their switches. They make cheap switches.
Yeah.
They do. I agree with that. I just think that probably Huawei, and is somebody saying it's pronounced Huawei, Max? So
It's not.
I have never heard Richard Yu many times I've seen him on stage say Huawei. He says Huawei.
It is a very bad advertising campaign that they've been doing.
It's a fake pronunciation.
Makes it easier for Americans.
They need to stop with that advertising.
Yeah.
It's confusing people.
Yeah, I think that honestly, if Foxconn bought Belkin, it probably wouldn't face much scrutiny. The companies facing, getting the negative attention are ZTE and Huawei because they are, enterprise and, like government scale equipment manufacturers for networking devices.
Right.
So I think there's a reason, that they're getting special attention, I would say. Foxconn just makes stuff. That's kind of their business, making stuff.
But I wouldn't put general paranoia out of the picture, though.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I guess you can never know. It's hard to predict, let's say, how certain branches of government will respond to things.
Exactly.
And let's not forget, Foxconn did have a major security screw up just a few years ago where they left a factory test mode completely accessible to anyone that just issued an ADB command or maybe a fast boot, whatever. I don't know. There's when you're getting down to it, they do have a software component that they install in a lot of stuff, and it's blown up in their faces a few times.
Was that a Qualcomm? Was it Qualcomm devices or MediaTek? Because I feel like
I have to go look. I
But
wrote
yeah,
about
yeah.
it. I should know this. So that's an old post.
But yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah. And there is always the concern that these smart home devices are never really that secure.
No.
Wait, you're telling me the Internet of Things may not be all that secure?
It's not the Internet of Secure Things. It's just the Internet of Things. Okay?
Yeah.
IOST.
You're
oh my
asking
God,
too
I can't wait for it.
Internet of smart switches running 8-year-old versions of Linux. That's what it's called.
I want an army of botnets and remote crypto mining microwaves.
When you think about it,
I can totally see a.
I can't wait for like the article on like like the New York Times. You'll never guess what your light switch is doing while you're asleep.
okay, but like
It's mining Ethereum.
A smart switch is the perfect thing to mine cryptocurrency because it's got an unlimited supply of power. Like it's plugged into the outlet.
Unlimited power.
No one's monitoring its traffic or how much power it's using. You're assuming it's saving you money.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's
Okay,
true.
I can
Yeah.
totally see that happening now. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already.
I was gonna say
Probably-
You know what? Maybe
It's-
maybe it's happening right now. Everybody,
everyone
look,
go check your
look at
microwaves.
your smart plugs real quick.
Once Chrome and Firefox cracks down on those JavaScript miners, that's the next target. Watch your light bulbs, everyone.
Okay, quick follow up. We know there were more phones than this, but the two that were confirmed were the Nextbit Robin and the I just had it in the InFocus M810, which I'm sure no one's heard of.
The
and-
Robin.
Yeah, but yeah, Nextbit Robin. That was not a completely unknown device. And again, there were more phones affected, but those did not get quite the same attention. Mostly because they were discovered later. And just for anyone looking who wants to look this up, the exploit was released by Just In Case, and it was called Pork Explosion.
Oh, port. Yes.
Good old
Yes.
Pork Explosion.
He has
Greatest
such great
name
names.
ever.
for things.
Yeah, he comes up with hilarious names.
Yeah. So speaking of Chrome earlier, this may not be of any interest to anybody listening to this podcast, but it's interesting to us. So if you use Chrome for mobile, you've probably noticed in your new tab interface there is a suggested article section, and according to what is the name of these Neiman Lab,
Yeah.
which is associated with. Is that associated? No. Is it associated with Harvard?
I don't know actually.
No, it's Cambridge. So yes.
Oh, probably England. Probably
It's-
Cambridge, England.
No, Cambridge, Massachusetts. It's Harvard. So Neiman Lab is a basically a journalist like think tank, I think. And so they study trends in terms of content on the internet. And so using Chartbeat's data, they found that Google Chrome's Articles for You suggestion system, that the traffic from that has absolutely skyrocketed to the point where it's rivaling the whole service of Twitter in terms of referrals for content on the internet, showing just how powerful Google Chrome is as a how much people are looking at that new tab interface. It's pretty interesting stuff. I mean, on Android Police, I can say that we've experienced a very big surge of mobile traffic referred by Google. And we can't tell if it comes from, our analytics don't let us know if it's from Chrome's recommendations engine or if it's from the Google feed or if it's from Google News. I mean, it's all kind of the same. But it shows that people are consuming a lot of content on their phones, and that this is increasingly a discovery mechanism, that a browser is now not just a place you go to, find things that are on the internet, to find web pages. It is a tool, or it is a mechanism by which content is suggested to you, and apparently a very effective one.
Yeah.
So effective, it's getting ready to surpass Twitter here.
Yeah,
In
which is
terms of
pretty
referrals, yeah.
pretty crazy, because Twitter is all about viral sharing. So I think that's pretty fascinating stuff, at least. Well, I mean, it's fascinating stuff to me because it
Yeah.
relates to my job very directly. But
It is kind of interesting because this has been such a hot button topic on YouTube for so long, is that no one really knows how YouTube's algorithms work and what, when it recommends videos, the views, they go skyrocket. And it's the same thing here. Really, websites don't know why their articles, a couple of them will hop on Google feed for hundreds of thousands of people.
and I think the probably Google is starting to tailor less toward probably one of their most valuable tools is not understanding what kind of ads you want to see, but what kind of content you want to see to put the ads on. Because if you're very engaged with a piece of content, you're probably more likely to pay attention to the advertisements on the page. Just clicking in the first place is really all they want, because that's where the money is coming from. Very few people click on ads, generally speaking. So this is definitely, Scott says in the comments, sounds like CompuServe, doesn't it? And yeah, things are definitely kind of revolving that way, that that shift toward a central curation platform, whereby people discover things through a trusted hub. Granted, the hub is completely curated by algorithms, so it's a little different. The people aren't in control; computers are.
People in control. You get Reddit. So
Yeah,
And like Google search terms are becoming kind of like the new AOL keywords. Like people don't go to websites; they just like they know what they want to do and they type in the word in Google and it's the first result.
yeah. Google is stupid, scary, smart. Is essentially what's happening.
And
It's
it
getting
knows
to the
where
point.
you go.
And I always go back to this. I remember the first time I went to Google I/O, and Sundar Pichai, when he was just head of like Chrome, came on stage and he said, Google's goal is to give you what you want before you know you want it. And that to me is really what the feed and these suggested articles, that's what they embody. The idea is that Google is going to present you with things that you will be interested in and want to know more about before you bother searching for them. Because why search when Google can just make you click on things anyway?
I feel like the feed is pretty accurate for me.
It is. I like the feed. The feed is generally pretty good.
Some people are. I see people like on Reddit and whatnot like trashing it, like, oh, it's terrible. I always turn it off. But like, really? Like maybe you just
I turn it on.
maybe
those are the
maybe
same
all-
people who get Trump articles and they're like, I don't want to see this, but I keep clicking on them. So I mean, I don't want to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I prune the feed very rigorously, where if I see something from a source that I know I don't trust, or if it's a piece of content that, no, I was looking at this, like I read an article about this topic, but I don't want to see anything else about it. I'm done. I will say, no, I'm not interested in that. And it's very good about not showing you more of that stuff. So I see stuff about cars and technology and food. And so my feed is great and generally from sources I trust. So yeah, I think the feed is pretty damn good. Yeah, as Anthony says, Daily Mail. Yes, Daily Mail is one of my banned sources and in the Google feed.
Daily Mail and Polygon.
I banned Forbes a while ago. Yeah, Daily Mail, Forbes, Breitbart, the standards.
Business Insider.
The feed is
Business Insider.
I did ban Business Insider as well.
Yeah.
If we're gonna plug things we've banned, yeah,
Kotaku.
I banned Android Police. It's fine.
Don't
You're
we all?
fired.
I should do that. I've probably seen my own posts on my own Google feed.
Yeah.
I haven't.
yeah.
Oh no way! Every time I see someone making pee, and it's like, is this helpful? And I'm like, yes. It's very helpful to me because I receive my money from this website. It's very helpful. Please show me more.
2 weeks ago, I got the twofer. I had 2 articles on my feed at once. I was like, holy shit, blew my mind.
Yeah, the content recommendations have always been good for me, but the Google feed itself, I know this is a separate issue, but the feed itself has not become, it's become progressively worse. Like
It's still better.
I liked it on my, sorry.
Well, okay, this isn't actually on the list, but this is sort of related. So like, did you guys see that Taboola, the sort of clickbait ad people, they're gonna do like their own newsfeed thing on phones, and CT is like, yeah, we want a piece of that.
Yeah. Well, Verizon has their own thing too. That's on like Moto phones.
Yeah, what was that? Was it App Flash? Is that what it was, or was it a different one?
It was something like that. Let me see. Verizon. If I just search Verizon bloatware on API, I bet it'll come up.
I don't know. That might take a while.
Yeah, I was just say that. You'll probably sort
Yeah,
through
actually, there's a lot of results. Okay, here, if I do, I'll find it. Here we go. Yeah, it's App Flash.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So this
Was it-
looks
Was it Verizon? Wasn't that the lock screen thing too? Or it was
I don't-
taking over
I
the
don't
lock
know.
screen?
the lock screen. They're basically copying the swipe left on the home screen to see your feed of random suggested things.
Advertiser sponsored links.
I remember how much crap people gave Samsung for basically the Flipboard thing.
Oh, that was always like, it wasn't even so much the content of that, it's that the experience was awful. There was always like a solid second lag when you swipe over to it.
Yeah,
And it just
Flipboard was
felt
just
broken.
and it's glitchy and
They should have done Feedly.
also it's super pushy about updates.
Yeah. It was, the Samsung Flipboard interface was bad. Not that Bixby Home is really better. It's just different.
I'd rather have the OnePlus shelf than the the Bixby.
I dislike the OnePlus Shelf for
I would-
reasons I have explained in every single review, and will continue.
I don't use it, but I'd rather have it than the Bixby thing.
I mean,
Well, I turned
guess
the Bixby thing off too. I don't
I
want that either.
turn. I mean, I
Google
turn the
Now
OnePlus
for
off.
life. Or whatever
Yeah,
the
I
hell it's
like
called now.
I love Google Now on my Nexus 5 when it would actually recommend not just articles, but also like here's a calendar appointment that's coming up. Here's
Oh
something
man,
Your
I
flight
think-
reservation.
I think the feed still does some of that.
it's
It
there,
does
but
if you
have
go
to
to the
tap the button,
secondary
yeah.
area, but nobody goes
Yeah.
there anymore.
Yeah.
It's a graveyard.
It completely defeats the point because it's
Yeah.
supposed to tell you it before you think about
Mhm.
it. But you have to
Exactly.
think about
Information
it,
before
press
you
the
need it
button.
off on this other screen.
Yeah.
You never check.
You have to open the Google app and then press one of the 20 tabs to find what you're looking for.
what happened, man?
Yeah.
So sad.
You know what? The one thing that I really miss about Google Now is that it used to automatically try to figure out if you parked your car somewhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It doesn't do that anymore.
That was
I get
great.
it occasionally,
It's definitely
like
still there.
like every few days it'll be like, "Did you park here?" or "Here's your parking location," but it's not
Maybe it
all the
was too
time.
unreliable. But honestly, like when I use it, it was great. And by use it, I mean like when I saw that it was there, like it was accurate.
Yeah.
It never works for me anymore. I have to tell Google, remember I parked here.
Mhm. Now, granted, I have an orange car, so I don't necessarily need that.
I know
But it
exactly
was-
what
it was-
color
it
your
was still
Nissan
cool.
Murano is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember it would
That
Google
has
Now would
tracking
ask
systems.
to it would try to figure out where I worked. Like that
It
was
still
cool.
does that.
It
It
still
still does
tries,
that.
but it's
Yeah.
not as good as it used to be.
Yeah, no, that was fun. Where when I stopped working at Office Depot and I started working for AP full time, I had to change my work address to my house because I was like, I don't. need to know
my
how long it
home and
takes.
work address are the same because otherwise it keeps like asking
Yeah.
me.
Exactly. It's like
it'd be 20 minutes to work. I'm like,
I keep
sure
going to the
if I
same
want.
sandwich.
Literally.
So I go to the same sandwich shop every week. I've talked about this plenty of times. All-Star Sandwich Bar, best sandwiches ever. So I go to the sandwich shop every week. And for the longest time, it was convinced no matter what I did, I would set my work address to home. It would reset it
Yep.
to the sandwich shop. So every week, I'm like, oh, you need to
It's
go to
like,
work.
no,
It's like,
you're,
no,
it's like,
I'm
no,
just a
Ryan, you're
glutton.
stupid.
And it was like oh, time to go to work. Like, well, actually, I could go for a sandwich.
I
And
could
then-
go-
Google was like, yeah, I know where you work. Sandwich shop. don't try to deny it, Ryan. You're going to work at the sandwich shop.
Ryan's quitting AP to live his lifelong dream of running the sandwich shop.
sandwich artist.
You
Sandwich
heard it
artist.
here first.
Okay,
Part-time
so
sandwich artist.
let's move on to Android P. I don't know how many of us have flashed it to a device. I assume the majority of us
Yes.
have.
I used it
I
for like
did.
a week.
I'm
I
using it as
have
my
one.
daily driver.
Yeah, I'm using it as my daily driver as well. And honestly, it's mostly fine.
Yeah.
I've had some problems, but compared to previews, like especially preview ones of past,
Yeah,
it feels more like a beta than an alpha.
the first release has always been really bad. I remember
Yeah,
so many
and
people
this-
complaining about Oreo.
What is area code 610? I'm guaranteeing this is a spam call, but I'm curious.
Just answer it. It's perfect for the podcast.
Yeah, answer it on.
Just do it. Just do it.
Put it on speakerphone.
You're live.
Philadelphia, Allentown, Bethlehem.
Just answer,
Yeah,
just
I
answer.
don't know.
Speakerphone.
Anybody there.
It's a listener call.
Come on.
Oh, you're on the
Yeah.
podcast. What's your question?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Android
I get
Police
so many of those
podcast.
every day.
So Android
same.
P, I had one random reboot actually today. Weirdly, I opened up Facebook Messenger and like got this weird graphical glitch, and then
It's
the
a
phone
sign.
panic rebooted. But
trying
that's
to
the only
save you.
that's the only like hard crash I've had so far. Oh, that and Lyft doesn't work, which is annoying.
You use a lot of Lyft too.
I use Lyft fairly frequently, so I've been using Uber instead, which shame. But
Oh,
It's not
Yeah.
your fault. It's Google's fault.
Can't
Yeah.
you use Lyft from inside the Google Maps app?
Well, it's still
It's only
boots
an
you over
input
to
pass.
Lyft.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unlike the
so
Uber
Lyft-
thing works entirely inside Maps, but the
Lyft was updated 2 days ago, so maybe they fixed it. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, other than that, I've not really had any problems except for standard Android preview Bluetooth issues, which are just par for the course. Like my true wireless earbuds, sometimes one of them doesn't get audio. Like it's just weird weird stuff like that, or like the stereo in my car won't get the track information when I'm
I
playing music.
expect nothing less from Bluetooth.
Yeah. It's
Especially
standard
on
Bluetooth
Pixels.
behavior, but slightly worse, basically. Although what I've read is that people have the regular Pixel XL, the original one. Bluetooth is actually much better. So I don't know.
Oh, that's what I have flashed on mine. I should look at that.
Yeah, I'm on the 2XL for the preview on mine, and honestly, it's great. The battery life, I've not had any impact on battery life that's been negative. If anything, it seems better.
Yeah, you know what? It actually does seem the battery life seems really impressive on my original XL. I mean, and the battery in that has it's been used for a while, but like after I did testing when it first came out, I like left the phone sitting for probably 5 days. I thought I turned it off, but I did not. And then I picked it up and I was like, oh, it still has like 20% of the battery.
Yeah. Scott says, I've still got PTSD from BT issues on Oreo DP1. Oreo DP1 was so much worse than this is.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. P Preview 1 is leagues better. The Bluetooth, like, actually, I've not had any Bluetooth issues, knock on wood, in the last week. I had them mostly in the first week I was using it. So, maybe they've ironed themselves out. I would say that the main thing to be wary of with the P Preview is that I do get a number of apps where I get the toast notification that says this app is not compatible with Android P. And they're without a doubt, there are people out there, whose names are Artem, that are going to have apps that do not work on the P Preview.
I didn't even know there was a warning like that.
Yeah.
Well, Artem only installs like 250 apps, so it's unlikely.
He literally says that. I've only got like 250 apps on my phone. Just 250.
I don't think he understands the meaning of only.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Why is my battery life so bad? I don't know.
Yeah. Why does my camera take forever to load?
So why is the toast? What causes the toast notification to appear? Because I've never seen it.
It's an API compatibility thing, I think, if it's not targeting the right level. But
is that for
maybe I'm wrong.
apps that don't target P, or is that the low version warning thing?
I think it's the low version warning that basically they're the apps that are going to get like cut off someday because they are way too low.
Yeah, and I don't think we ever got an answer.
Go ahead.
I think I definitely emailed Google when we wrote about that and said, hey, the language on the API docs kind of contradicts what you said in the announcement post. Can you confirm that apps below whatever it was, like 4.1 won't launch? And I don't think they ever responded. So who knows?
So the apps that I always see it in, it's definitely Facebook, which, unfortunately I do have Facebook installed and use it. I'm trying to think what else. I've seen it in a handful of other apps, and it's almost exclusively apps that I have zero faith that the companies behind them would want to be on current versions of Android. So that's kind of the trend.
And I know everyone points out Snapchat, but I installed the latest of I'm on the beta, but I still installed the latest version because I was trying to test the group calls, and it was asking for my permissions in the new Marshmallow. I shouldn't say new, but the
runtime permissions.
Yeah, right. So I don't think Snapchat is an offender anymore. I could be wrong though, because I don't use the app regularly.
Well, when your app is literally like the meme for avoiding updating, then at some point you're like, okay, we get it. We kind of have to play nice now. Like Google is doing this because of us. All right,
app is such a dumpster fire too. I was just trying to swipe between the different screens.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just glad I don't have my ringtone set.
But
I thought I had everything turned off. God damn it.
that app has always been a dumpster fire, and I don't think it's going to change.
Yeah, Snapchat, I think, honestly, is one of those things we're going to look back on when the bubble pops. It's first to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Snapchat is the new pets.com.
Like the new .com bubble.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I would say Snap's gonna be the first one. It is going to be the canary in the coal mine, because like it's really obvious already that they're doing terribly, and that they're not making money.
No, but David, everyone bought their glasses.
Oh God, yes, spectacles. Does anybody remember when people cared about those for like 5 minutes?
Well, only when they
Liam
couldn't
did.
get them.
Yeah, it was
Well-
5 minutes when you could only get them in one cubicle in the middle of nowhere in California.
And
That
New
was it.
York. And New
In New
York.
York. Yeah.
Oh, no, they had them
um,
in LA. They were all over the place. They had like the vending machines and stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
the first day there was only the 2 vending machines in existence.
Snapchat is based, I believe, in LA. I think they're in Venice. Like most douchey things. So anyway,
So really
Where
quick,
did you used to live, David?
Android P. I used to live in LA.
my own particular issue with P has been full screen apps, specifically the navigation buttons. There's this really weird bug where it'll look like the navigation buttons have gone away, but you can tap where those buttons would have been and it'll still respond to them. And there's a lot of really bizarre, like sometimes you can swipe up and they won't come up. Other times, like they should have faded and they just hang out forever. I've even seen once where the graphic is there for the navigation buttons, but you could tap them and nothing happens. Like every variation of something that can go wrong with those buttons, it does. So it's not terrible. You kind of work around it, but it's definitely a thing.
So in terms of other Android P things, I think that one thing worth talking about, one topic really, and Cody and I were talking about this in chat, I think like 2 days ago, or maybe yesterday, is the move toward cohesive, responsive theming of the operating system. And we know that Google started integrating, using a big part of Sony's theming engine into AOSP couple of years back, and Android Oreo I think really hinted that theming support was coming because there's that menu item in developer options about choosing a theme. So right now in the Android P preview, Google has expanded a little bit on the light dark theme on the pixels, where so if you choose a dark wallpaper, what does it theme? So it themes the app drawer background, it themes the volume interface, it themes the quick settings toggles.
It already did
And-
that before, didn't it?
Android Oreo did everything except I don't think it themed did it theme the volume stuff?
Oh, it might not have done that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember either. Anyway, I think that we're seeing Google slowly embrace this idea. If anything, they've not pulled back from it. So the issue right now is that if you have a dark wallpaper, well, what's light? Notification cards, the Google feed, and the settings app are all still light colored, which is hugely clashy when you have a dark theme because it's like the polar opposite in terms of it's high contrast as it could be. I think that with P, Google is hopefully going to start embracing the idea of more system-wide theming. Not in terms of a theme engine that users can access. I don't think that will ever happen on stock Android. But I've got to think that Google is feeling the pressure to have essentially what is a night mode, and to be able to have most of the operating system's elements respond to a darker theme. At this point, the goal has to be settings app, Google feed, notification cards. Those basic things, once they have those down, the launcher will be fully dark themed, and then the notification tray will be fully dark themed, and the settings app, which is integral to the phone and wouldn't really be that hard to do in a dark theme, you'll have that kind of unity. At that point, then they have to tackle applications, which is the harder thing. My prediction, I would not be surprised if we see by the time the Pixel 3s come out, a good handful of Google apps that have a dark theme. Maybe not all of them.
Yeah, it might be like material design where it takes 6 months or a year for all of Google's products to.
Or 4.
Yeah, I remember Hangouts took forever.
Hey, some of them still haven't. Look at YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube does its own thing.
Yeah.
Although YouTube, if any application, should be, totally happy to embrace a night mode. Video apps or
Well,
you know.
they already have.
Oh yeah, they have. Yeah.
It has zero integration with the OS itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Google just has to essentially, create some kind of flag that applications to respond to. That's not hard. It's
More
just
importantly, YouTube would have to follow it, which might be hard.
because
Yeah, exactly.
YouTube is essentially a separate company. So yeah.
Mhm.
And it is interesting how Android is so much of a mature operating system now that night mode is really one of the last like main features I can think of that Android's still missing. So it because people have been asking for it for the past couple releases.
I feel like it would be such a feather in their cap compared to iOS.
Yeah, especially because iOS is actually like everyone makes fun of Google's apps for becoming more and more white, but iOS is actually burn your retinas white all the time. It is really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. So I think it's something they could do. We're obviously inching toward it. The fact that any part of the OS is responsive in this way it's telling. And I think the clashing is so obvious at this point that for Google to say it's not a problem would be just plain spin. There are really obvious cases where the dark theme just doesn't work at all. So I think hopefully we're going to see that play out. I think also right now, Android P in its current state, we're probably not seeing really probably the most exciting parts of it. Really, is most exciting parts of Android generally the APIs and the way Google chooses to then leverage them. And I just activated my home. In its applications to make them more powerful. I think one of the ones, Cody is, working on a piece for us at some point here soon about slices, which I think could be very powerful. The ability of one application to display the contents of another application, appception, sort of. I think that could be pretty cool in terms of multitasking and being able to get content from one application to another. But we haven't seen what Google's vision for that really is yet, how they intend to use it or what they believe the intended use is. So I'm pretty excited for that. And I'm sure there are a bunch of other APIs that really we just haven't been able to explore because we don't understand what Google thinks the use case is. It is the first preview after all.
Yeah. And I've said this before. One of the big things about previews, at least when they're really in the true preview stage like this, is there's almost always more stuff that comes along before the final release. And most of it was in those earlier previews. It's just nobody knew about it, or it at the very least it wasn't documented or really discussed. So, who knows what's coming between now and I/O, and then what'll be announced at I/O that happens before the final release. So
there are 3 more releases or 2 more releases before it's even feature complete.
Yeah, so the next release will be during Google I/O. So I'm sure that's going to have some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm sure Google is holding, because Google has reason to hold back certain things that they're going to demo at I/O. And also at I/O, so the I/O has become this thing that used to be, I/O started out as the place where Google would make hardware announcements, and then they didn't make any. And then they started making little ones again. So like last year, Google Home. Was that last year or was that the year before?
Wasn't it the year before?
That was the year before.
Yeah.
At the October event.
Last year they did Android
Or no, wait.
Go.
No, they announced Google Home at
they
Google
did.
I/O.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that was the year before.
2
last.
years ago.
They announced it and basically showed a did they just show a picture? Or did they have one on stage?
I don't think they had it.
I think they had one, but it wasn't
But
working.
they released it at the
it was
October.
definitely not working.
Yeah, no, it's just a preview. Like, hey, we're working on this. It's coming out.
Yeah,
So
what did they do? What did they do last year?
Google Home Mini, Home Max, the Daydream headsets.
No.
That was
Those were just the
fall.
October event.
Yeah.
That was October. Yeah, I don't think there's any.
No,
They
there
Oh,
was.
talked about the standalone Daydream headset.
They did. They talked about standalone Daydream. That was hardware last year. You're right.
Yeah.
There was no other hardware last year, so it's hard to say if we'll see any kind of hardware at this year's Google I/O. I would say, if anything, I would expect partner hardware, not Google hardware.
Yeah,
At
like
I/O.
Chrome tablets. I think
Yeah.
that's a pretty safe bet at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Seeing what we have from Acer. So
And also the Google's working on running Linux apps on Chrome OS, and it really seems like they're going to announce that at I/O formally.
I think that is a good bet to make.
That could be a big thing. If I haven't used GIMP in a long time, but if it's not terrible, that could solve some problems.
It's still terrible.
Okay.
I use it every day.
I use it almost every day too.
But
so.
it does mean that you could run Linux Steam games, which they're actually from.
Oh, Ron says
Yeah.
smart displays at Google I/O. Well, we had the first one announced by Lenovo, and then who else announced one?
LG?
Is it even on
Yeah, there
sale
was
yet?
like 4 of them announced all.
Yeah,
Can
they're all
you
supposed to
buy
go.
one?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
Lenovo's goes on sale in summer. I think LG said theirs is May, right? Something like
Something
that.
like that.
Well,
yeah.
and that's what Ron kind of beat me to it, but that's what I was going to say is IO is going to be like they're going to cut the cord, or not cut the cord, but like lift the gate on smart displays. Everyone who's got one in the works is either releasing right then or very shortly after.
Ron
that.
says Google Smart Display. I say no. I don't think it's going to happen.
I agree.
A Pixel Smart Display.
You heard it here first.
I don't think it's going to happen. Google Home Smart Display. I don't think it's going to happen.
Really?
Well, someday I could totally see Google making their own, but I think for this first round, it's going to be all just partner stuff.
I think Google is probably at this point more interested in responding to Amazon than it is confident that this is going to be a form factor people actually want. I think this is a test.
I just don't think Google cares to compete on this specific thing in hardware. They'd rather just make the software, put it out, and let everyone else license.
Is the software that Lenovo's running made by Google, or is that? I thought
Yep.
it was
Made by
it is?
Google completely.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Then
That's
Ron
so
has a
interesting.
point. Yeah.
Well, that's
No,
what's
Ron. I think Ron's point is it's interesting in this particular space because objects you put in your home. I think that the whole point Google's trying to make is these are just Google Homes, but they display content from Google. I don't necessarily see Google needing to make the device for that to work. I think this is more of a kind of let's put our feet in the water and see if people actually want this in the first place.
Maybe.
Smart speakers are a proven thing that people do want. They're buying tons of them. So a smart display, I think that's harder to judge at this point. I've not seen anything saying Echo Show has been a runaway success.
And
And there is-
also, to be fair, to say Google doesn't make the hardware is maybe not entirely accurate. Google, I don't know this with certainty, but I've seen a little bit of evidence of this. I'm pretty sure Google is making or at least licensing out part of the hardware.
Well, because
So
it's a
they're-
Chromecast, right?
Basically, yeah. It's what's inside of a Google Home, but it is a little bit more juiced up. And there is there's a specific hardware platform that's going inside of every smart display that's in development right now.
Yeah.
And it's the
They
exact
announced-
same platform.
Yeah, there was
So
a bunch of these announced at CES. Like there's one from Qualcomm, one from MediaTek, and they're all pre-certified for CAS, pre-certified for Android things, which is what
Yeah.
all these smart screens run.
And I think that's probably, Google's strategy on this. I think for Google Home, the strategy is different because these are something that they're proven. Google knows people buy these and they can have a very tight control over the experience. Smart displays are probably catering more toward it's about deciding what kind of form factor the consumer wants. More like a phone, where people feel like, oh, this fits into what I want, not this is a specific tool I need. So I think that Google probably will give these time to evolve. It's kind of the same story with Android TV, right? Where Google has tried to lean more toward on partners who understand the space and less on the idea that they're going to provide some kind of meaningfully better Okay, Ron says proven is not required for the Google hardware team to see Google Clips. Yeah, no, Google makes plenty of bad hardware. See Pixel Buds, but
Mhm.
Pixel Buds. Wow, if there's a launch Google could ever take back, that's probably up
And
pretty
it,
high
you
up.
know, and it really, they started off so strong with that demo at the event where it was like the universal translator. Everybody was like, "Oh my god, this is the future!" And then they released a thing, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is not the future."
This is bad.
I mean,
No.
at least it's a pair of headphones. The Google Clips is like a $250 low resolution GIF camera.
It's. I mean, I feel like they
That-
sort of
and it does
pitched
not
that
take
as
pictures when you want it to.
they pitched that as like an experimental kind of weird thing. I don't think people were expecting like a polished thing.
It was a realistic pitch. Yeah.
But it's like a $250 experiment.
GIF camera. It's a $250 GIF
I mean,
camera.
look, this is the company that sold Google Glass for $1,500. We're lucky it only cost
We're getting the
$250.
suckers on
You
that
could
one.
buy a phone. You can buy a phone for less than the Clips, and it'll do everything the Clips can do, and it's a phone.
Yeah, get on Honor 7X. Yeah, you'll get the exact same stuff. Except better.
So
Bill says he has Pixel Buds and likes them. I don't believe him.
Did Bill work on the team that designed the Pixel Buds? Are
I
you
mean,
a Google show?
yeah, they're not good.
If you're happy with it, that's fine. That's all that
True.
Agreed.
If you like them and they make you happy, great.
I'm happy that Bill's happy.
yeah.
I think we're all happy that Bill is happy.
The world is a better place because Bill is happy.
I
true.
agree. So good on the
That
Pixel
is
Buds.
true.
So but yeah, as far as it goes, I don't understand any reason why Google would need to make the outer shell for all the smart displays, because at that point you're nitpicking between some companies, or some people want one that's going to have wood inlays, and other people are going to want one that looks futuristic, and there's going to be differences between the products like that. I don't think Google needs to get into that. If they're just selling a single chipset and maybe a whole development board, and that just goes out to every single company that wants to make a smart display product, hey, great. They can provide their own display, plug it into the port, build a shell around it, and that's their product. Like, that's such an easy thing to do.
Yeah, and that was one of the differentiating factors between buying a Google Home and buying a third-party speakers at the Google Home. I don't know if this is necessarily as true it is for Alexa, because I know with Alexa speakers, there's a lot of them that do not have all the features of the Echo, of the official Amazon Echo speakers, because that requires firmware updates that the OEMs don't give. But again, that's, as far as I know, that's not a problem with these smart displays, because they're all running Android things, which I believe is updated by Google itself. So that isn't a concern at all.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, there's not much of a reason for Google to make one, because it kind of already is. But yeah.
Anyway, so we are running a little long this week, so I think we were going to talk about the OnePlus 6, but honestly, we can cut that, I think. And
It's got a notch. It's got good specs.
There you go.
Hopefully the price hasn't increased this year.
Exactly. It's got a notch. It's got good specs. We don't know how much it's going to cost. That's, that's what's happening there. So anyway, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time.
Good night, everyone.
I'm making it awkward by not thanking you, Jordan.
I'm so sad.
Okay. Let me hit stop.